Hello, everyone. I wanted to have our virtual lecture today on Chapter 2. So far, you probably should have already watched or you will watch The Miracle of Life, which is a great old video of how miraculous conception to birth is. So take your time and watch that. It's probably about an hour. You have a handout that goes with it. So please take your time and review it because it's so interesting, the scientific background on how conception happens. And it is just, it's just really kind of neat. So the other thing that's kind of miraculous about it is there are a lot of times that women do not know that they are pregnant for a while. So the fact that so many intricate things are happening between the sperm and the ovum uniting, that it is just kind of shocking that things don't go bad more often. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool to watch. I'm going to cruise through some of these slides because they hit within the movie that you're going to watch or have watched. We, of course, have the female reproductive system here, and this is very graphic. So here you go. Here, if you don't remember your sex ed class in middle school or high school, there you have it. And there is the reproductive system. And so just remember that the ovaries here house all of um, the eggs that a woman will have in a lifetime. So a male in the testicles, they actually produce sperm daily. So the difference between a male and female is that for a female, we are born with all of the eggs that we will ever have in a lifetime. And they get released into the fallopian tube, and they sit down here. Well, they actually sit in the fallopian tube and waits for the sperm to unite, and then it moves down into the uterus and attaches to the side of the uterus, and that's where the baby grows. The fetus will grow for 9 months, and then obviously here's the cervix, and then exits the the vagina. So when fertilization actually happens, and you'll see this in the movie as well, only one of those sperm can enter into the egg. Once that happens, there's like this electronic field that kind of shield that kind of goes off, and the sperm become disinterested in the egg any further. So ovulation every month, a female releases an egg and is waiting in the fallopian tube for the sperm. If it doesn't get united with the sperm, it gets expelled through the body through her menstrual cycle. Every egg and every sperm have their own DNA, and when they come together, there's 23 chromosomes that come together to make 46, and the DNA of both combine and make all of the genetics of the baby. Blue eyes, brown eyes, tall, short, things of that nature. And this is what the chromosomes look like. Yeah, the first 2 weeks, and you'll see this in the movie as well, it hangs out here in the fallopian tube. It's called a zygote, and it's traveling down into the cervix before implantation occurs. So 3 to 8 weeks now we're in the uterus and we're growing, the second stage. This is the 3rd week through 8th week. It's called the embryonic stage. You can see the development there. This is way too complicated to get into. I think the video probably shows it better. So we'll move on to the next slide. The prenatal development, week 9 to birth, is called the fetal stage, lasting 7 months. At this point, when the female has gotten to this point in her pregnancy, the likelihood of staying, vital is higher. So that's when they usually will tell everybody that they're pregnant, because miscarriages are less likely to happen during this time. You can see the brain is expanding from 4 months to 9 months. Now, only imagine if during this time the mother was smoking or drinking. This has a huge impact on the growth of and development of the brain. And it's just so crucial that the mother is doing everything she can to stay healthy. The fetus is inside the amniotic sac full of fluid. The lifeline is the umbilical cord here, which is attached to the side of the uterus with the placenta. That's where all the blood sources are coming from and entering into the baby. So again, blood source, what's going in and out of the mother's nutrition, lungs, and so forth is very important, because it's feeding the baby. And just remember that the baby's going to get everything first in terms of the nutrients, and then the mother will get what's left over. So if the mother is not being healthy enough for the both of them, she will become deprived, but the baby will thrive more so than the mom. But we want both to thrive, so they both need to be healthy. Okay. Gonna cruise past these slides because I want to get to this part. Here we go. So the focus for this lecture that I really want you to understand is the teratogens, I should say, that can really impact the development of the fetus. You have some things that will happen in the embryonic stage that really damages the structures of the chromosomes and genes of some sort, that they're hindering the growth and development during that time. If the mom is smoking or drinking or taking any type of drugs or not eating healthy and so forth. And we've talked briefly about the brain development too. So, and you've got, it can be a scary time. So you want to do anything and everything you can to make sure you have a healthy baby, because their lifespan will be affected, and yours will too, because you might have to take care of that child the rest of your life. So with the alcohol, you have fetal alcohol syndrome. And you can tell by the face if they have this. The eyes are usually further apart. Smoking, you will have a smaller than normal size child. Let's see. There are other chromosomal disorders and genetic disorders such as Down syndrome, and this has to do with the one less chromosome that was not developed. I want to get to thought there was a slide that had all the lists of, it's in the book, never mind. Okay, so there are some things that you can do preventatively um, to make sure that you are having a healthy pregnancy. One of those is genetic counseling. This can be costly, and a lot of insurances don't cover it. But for example, I was born with a cleft palate, and so the roof of my mouth was open to my nasal cavity. I was very lucky that I didn't have a hair lip as well, which comes out just under the nose, and it's open. Your lip is open. But it is genetic. I have an aunt and a cousin that have it as well. So I could do some genetic counseling to see if, along with that, if I have any other um, genetic things that could impact my children's children too. Um, but prenatal tests, this is why when a mother is pregnant, that she needs to be going into the doctor and getting those checkups and ultrasounds to make sure things are developing um, well. And if they're not, you're prepared. Um, and if you are over the age of, I believe, 35, the suggestion to have a amniocentesis is suggested. So they go into a needle into the belly to grab some of the amniotic fluid, and they test it. And they'll test for Down syndrome and some other disorders that are more frequent when you have a child a little bit older, when you're a little bit older in age. This is talking about if you're infertile. And sometimes, like I have a best friend that she and her husband could not, she would get pregnant, but she would have a miscarriage. And the reason why is that her body refused his semen and sperm and worked against creating that baby, almost saw it as a foreign object to get rid of it. And they just weren't compatible for some reason. Now she could probably get pregnant with a different donor, but they chose not to. They ended up adopting. But and then I have my sister who had her first child a little bit later in life. She was about 38, and then tried for her second one a couple years later, and she just could not get pregnant. So they tried in vitro, and putting the eggs inside of the womb, the fertilized egg into the womb, and she still couldn't keep a hold of it. But so there are some things that just happen in life, and we don't know the answers to sometimes. But the movie Miracle of Life will show at the very end a very graphic depiction of the birth of a child. So prepare yourself when you watch that. But this is pretty much how it all happens. You can have a natural childbirth, or like what's happening here, or you can have a C-section. Typically, there's a reason for the C-section, and the doctor will recommend it. Or if you go through the natural childbirth and something dangerous is happening, they'll just go ahead and go straight to C-section to make sure the baby comes out healthy. There is a little test. Here we are in life. We take tests all the time, and even our very first test when we're born is called the APGAR test. And there's a scale, the APGAR scale, named after a doctor who created it. And you get judged. You get a ranking from 0 to 10, and it has to do with reflexes, your birth weight, and so forth. And when they are having too many problems, they will go into the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, to get help right away. This is sad, but there is a mortality rate based on where we live in the world, and you could see that this is deaths per 1,000 live births. So you can see from lowest to highest the countries that have the higher mortality rate. If you've ever known anybody that's gone through this, it's very tragic, very sad. So the importantly, why we need to have the best healthy pregnancy we possibly can. And you do that by having a planned pregnancy, because you can plan for it, prepare for it when you um, want to start a family. And so it's your likelihood of having a healthier child when it's planned is higher. So I believe in your discussion post, I asked you to answer why a planned pregnancy is so important. And what are the positives and negatives of not having a planned pregnancy. So it goes back to just being prepared and having your body as ready as you possibly can to make that baby. But you know what? Even planned pregnancies can end tragically and have disabilities and defects, birth defects in the child. So, but your likelihood of having a healthier baby when planned is always increased. So, all right, so that is our lecture for this week. Enjoy that video and have a great week.